Most women assume being blessed by God means life gets easier. The truth is darker, deeper, and harder to accept than that. A woman blessed by God is often the one who's been attacked the most, tested the most, misunderstood the most, and still somehow refuses to turn bitter. She loses people, yet gains peace. She gets rejected, yet ends up protected. She walks through pain and comes out carrying a glow that can't quite be explained. And if these 7 signs are showing up in your life, you're not unlucky. You're being prepared, protected, and chosen in a way most people will never understand. A woman blessed by God doesn't need to announce it. Her presence speaks before her mouth ever opens. You could put her in a room full of noise, jealousy, pressure, gossip, temptation, and confusion, and something inside her would remain untouched. Not because her life is easy, not because she never cries, not because she's never been betrayed, abandoned, misunderstood, or forced to carry pain in silence. She's blessed because, even after everything that tried to break her, she didn't become bitter. She became deeper. She became wiser. She became more aware of exactly who stays beside her when everyone else walks away. Listen closely, because plenty of women believe being blessed means everything has to look perfect from the outside. They think it means an easy life, effortless love, endless money, a peaceful home, applause, and doors that open without resistance. But sometimes the woman most blessed by God is the one who'd survived battles nobody ever witnessed. She smiles, but her smile carries a history. She gives, but there are scars behind that giving. She prays, but there are tears woven inside those prayers. She walks calmly, but she's already moved through storms that would have reshaped a weaker spirit entirely. The first sign is this: you keep getting protected from things you once thought you wanted. At the time, you called it rejection. You called it delay. You called it unfair. You asked why the door closed, why that person left, why the plan fell apart, why the answer never came when your heart was begging for it. But later, once your vision cleared, you understood the door wasn't closed to punish you. It was closed to keep you out of a place that would have slowly destroyed your spirit. A blessed woman doesn't always get handed what she asks for. Often she's saved from exactly what her wounded heart was ready to accept. There's a difference. When you're lonely, you might ask for any kind of attention. When you're exhausted, you might ask for any kind of help. When you feel invisible, you might accept anyone offering even a little warmth. But God doesn't bless you by feeding every weakness. Sometimes He blesses you by removing the very thing your weakness was reaching toward. This is why you lost certain people and later felt your peace return. This is why you were denied certain opportunities and later discovered they were carrying hidden poison. This is why some relationships grew uncomfortable, some friendships drifted, some plans collapsed, and some dreams got delayed. You weren't forgotten. You were redirected. But the mind is impatient. The mind wants proof right now. The mind says, if I'm blessed, why am I still waiting? If God loves me, why am I in pain? If I'm protected, why did I lose what I cared about? The mind sees one broken piece and assumes the entire picture is shattered. The soul sees it differently. The soul knows that protection often looks like disappointment before it ever reveals itself as mercy. And don't measure your blessing only by what shows up. Measure it also by what leaves. Some departures are answers. Some endings are rescues. Some silences are shields. Some delays are simply divine timing, refusing to let you settle somewhere too small for who you're becoming. The second sign is that your heart stays soft, even though life gave you plenty of reasons to harden it. This isn't weakness. This is spiritual strength. Anyone can turn cold after getting hurt. Anyone can close off and say, I trust no one. I feel nothing. I care about nobody. That isn't power. That's injury, dressed up as wisdom. A woman blessed by God might grow more careful, but she doesn't grow cruel. She might grow quieter, but she doesn't grow empty. She may stop explaining herself to people who enjoy misunderstanding her, but she doesn't lose her kindness. Her softness becomes disciplined. Her love becomes wiser. Her boundaries become stronger. She learns that compassion doesn't mean letting people walk through her soul with muddy feet. This is a rare sign. Plenty of people lose their tenderness because they gave it to the wrong hands. They were honest with dishonest people, loyal to disloyal people, gentle with people who only ever respected force. And after enough pain, they assume the answer is to become like the ones who hurt them. The blessed woman is different. She learns from her pain without becoming the pain itself. She understands that even a pure heart still needs a gate. A garden with no fence gets destroyed by anything passing through. So she learns to say no without guilt. She learns to stop over-explaining herself. She learns that peace can be its own kind of obedience. She learns that not everyone deserves access to her energy, her time, her story, or her tears. But inside, her heart stays alive. She can still look at a child and feel tenderness. She can still see someone suffering and feel compassion. She can still forgive, even while choosing not to reconnect. She can still pray for someone she no longer allows close to her. That's the blessing, not the absence of wounds, but the refusal to let those wounds become her identity. The third sign is that you're being shaped through solitude. Plenty of women fear being alone because they assume loneliness means they're unwanted. But solitude is often the exact place where God strips away the noise that's been controlling you. Surround yourself with too many voices, and it gets nearly impossible to hear the quiet one inside you. You start living according to everyone else's expectations, dressing for approval, speaking for acceptance, staying in places that drain you because you're afraid of being judged for leaving, keeping friendships that no longer feed your spirit because you don't want to look lonely. Then suddenly, life goes quiet. People drift away. Messages slow down. Invitations stop coming. You find yourself alone with your own thoughts. At first it feels uncomfortable. You reach for distraction, check your phone, wonder who's thinking about you, compare your life to everyone else's, and ask why everyone else seems surrounded while you're being set apart. But separation isn't always punishment. Sometimes it's preparation. A seed can't grow if it refuses to be buried in dark soil. A woman can't discover her true strength if she'd greased, always surrounded by people telling her who she should be. Solitude teaches you the sound of your own voice. It reveals which parts of you were real and which parts were built just to survive other people's opinions. A blessed woman is often pulled away from the crowd before she's lifted into purpose. She might lose interest in certain conversations. She might stop enjoying places that used to excite her. She might feel drained around people who only talk gossip, drama, appearances, and comparison. That isn't arrogance. That's alignment. Her soul is changing its diet. What once entertained her now irritates her, because her spirit is asking for something cleaner. When God blesses a woman, He doesn't only give her more. He removes her appetite for less. That's why your loneliness might actually be your training ground. In silence, you learn discipline. In quiet, you learn prayer. In distance, you learn discernment. In the absence of applause, you learn whether your path is even real. Don't rush to fill every empty space. Empty space is where renewal gets in. Empty space is where false attachments lose their grip. Empty space is where you stop begging to be chosen and start choosing whatever honors your own soul. The fourth sign is that your intuition sharpens. You might not always be able to explain it, but you feel when something is wrong. You sense when a smile isn't sincere. You notice when the words sound beautiful, but the energy feels heavy. You can tell when someone is wearing kindness as a mask, when attention is actually a trap, when an apology has no real change behind it. A blessed woman isn't paranoid, she's awake. There's a difference. Paranoia sees danger everywhere because it's ruled by fear. Discernment sees the truth beneath the surface because it's guided by wisdom. As your spirit gets cleaner, you become harder to deceive. You stop being impressed by loud promises. You stop ignoring red flags just because someone knows how to talk softly. You stop confusing chemistry with compatibility. You stop calling inconsistency love. This sharpness didn't come cheap. It came from lessons. It came from the moments you ignored your inner warning and paid for it. It came from trusting someone your spirit had already questioned. It came from staying too long in places where your peace kept disappearing. Pain taught you the language of energy. God used experience to sharpen your sight. Now you don't argue with every feeling. You observe, you wait, you listen. You watch behavior more than words. You pay attention to how people treat the ones they don't need anything from. You notice whether someone's humility is real or just performed. You stop being seduced by potential and start respecting actual patterns instead. This is a powerful sign, but it comes with responsibility. When your intuition speaks, don't keep demanding louder proof. So many women undo themselves by asking for more evidence after their spirit has already warned them. They say, maybe I'm overthinking, maybe I'm being too sensitive, maybe I should give one more chance. And sometimes that one more chance becomes one more wound. A blessed woman learns the difference between fear left over from the past and guidance coming from God. Fear makes you shrink from everything. Guidance gives you a calm clarity. Fear creates panic. Guidance creates stillness. Fear screams, guidance whispers. But that whisper becomes impossible to ignore once your life is no longer from being run by desperation. The fifth sign is that your presence exposes people without you even trying. This is a difficult blessing because it can leave you feeling rejected. You wonder why some people get uncomfortable around you. You wonder why certain women compete with you when you never entered any competition. You wonder why some men try to control you when all you did was stand firmly in your own worth. You wonder why people misread your silence, your confidence, your standards, your growth. But understand this. Light doesn't ask darkness to react. It simply shines. And whatever was hidden becomes visible anyway. A blessed woman carries a presence that makes anything false grow restless. People who are honest with themselves feel peace around her. People who are pretending feel pressure. People who love the truth feel inspired. People who live through ego feel threatened. This is why you can't take every reaction personally. Some people aren't reacting to you at all. They're reacting to what your presence reveals inside them. Your discipline reminds them of their own excuses. Your peace reminds them of their own chaos. Your boundaries remind them of their own manipulation. Your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. Your faith reminds them of the emptiness they've been hiding behind confidence. Don't dim yourself just to make insecure people comfortable. This is one of the biggest traps women fall into. Shrinking so nobody else feels offended. Hiding their intelligence. Lowering their standards. Laughing off disrespect. Pretending not to notice envy. Apologizing for being focused. For being ambitious. For being calm. For being different. But a woman blessed by God isn't called to shrink. She's called to stand with humility, not shame. Humility doesn't mean denying your light. Humility means knowing the light never came from ego. It came through grace. You don't need to boast, but you also don't need to hide. The sun doesn't apologize for sunrise. It simply rises. The sixth sign is that you keep rising after seasons that were meant to bury you. Not once, not twice, but over and over. You've had moments when you thought, I can't keep doing this. You've cried quietly because you didn't want to explain the same pain all over again. You've carried responsibilities while your own heart desperately needed rest. You've smiled for other people while fighting private battles. You've been strong for people who never once asked who was being strong for you. And still, you rose. Maybe not quickly, maybe not gracefully. Maybe you crawled, maybe you shook. Maybe you prayed with no words left to say. Maybe you simply got out of bed because there wasn't another option. But you rose. That's not ordinary. Most people only ever see your current face. They have no idea what it took to keep your spirit alive. They see your calm, but not the nights you fought anxiety. They see your glow, but not the time you felt invisible. They see your standards, but not the betrayal that taught you to protect your soul. They see your confidence, but not the years you spent rebuilding what someone else tried to tear down. A blessed woman isn't someone who never falls. She's someone who isn't permitted to stay down. Something keeps pulling her back upward. Something keeps breathing strength into her bones. Something keeps reminding her that the story isn't finished just because one chapter was painful. Understand this clearly. Resilience isn't always loud. Sometimes resilience is just washing your face and getting through the day. Sometimes resilience is not replying to the message that would drag you back into old pain. Sometimes resilience is choosing sleep over overthinking. Sometimes resilience is eating even when sadness stole your appetite. Sometimes resilience is praying even when your faith feels worn thin. Don't disrespect your own survival just because it wasn't dramatic. Quiet endurance is still strength. Silent healing is still victory. A soft comeback is still a comeback. The mountain doesn't move quickly, but it remains. The river doesn't shout, but it shapes the stone anyway. A blessed woman learns that slow strength is still sacred strength. The seventh sign is that you start wanting peace more than attention. This is one of the clearest signs that God is working deeply inside you. When you're spiritually immature, attention feels like food. You want to be noticed. You want to be chosen. You want people to see exactly what they lost. You want your pain acknowledged. You want your glow witnessed by the very people who doubted you. But as you grow, something shifts. You stop wanting to prove yourself and start wanting to simply become. You stop needing to be the loudest in the room and start wanting to be the most rooted. You stop chasing conversations that disturb your spirit. You stop needing everyone to understand you. You stop craving revenge because you realize peace costs more than being right ever could. This isn't weakness, it's maturity. It's the moment you stop spending your energy on battles that don't build your soul. Some people try to pull you into conflict because disturbing you is the only way they feel powerful. Some people want your reaction because your reaction gives them access to you. Some people test the old version of you just to see whether your healing is genuine. But a blessed woman learns to stay still. There's strength in not responding. There's power in walking away without turning your pain into a performance. There's wisdom in letting people believe whatever they want when the truth is already known to God. You don't have to defend your heart in every court of human opinion. Not every accusation deserves your voice. Not every misunderstanding deserves an explanation. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Once peace becomes your priority, your whole life simplifies. You choose different friendships. You sleep differently. You speak differently. You spend money differently. You love differently. You stop letting temporary feelings make permanent decisions. You stop confusing chaos with passion. You stop believing love has to hurt in order to be real. A blessed woman becomes allergic to confusion, not because she's fragile, but because she's already paid too high a price for her peace to start renting it out cheaply. She knows the cost of sleepless nights. She knows the cost of betraying herself. She knows the cost of ignoring her own spirit. So now, when something threatens her peace, she doesn't negotiate endlessly. She listens. She steps back. And she chooses herself without needing the crowd's approval first. But there's something important you need to hear. Being blessed doesn't make you better than anyone else. The moment a blessing turns into pride, it becomes blindness instead. A woman truly blessed by God doesn't walk around looking down on people. She doesn't use her spirituality to feel superior. She doesn't call everyone jealous just because they disagree with her. She doesn't mistake attention for anointing or beauty for value. Real blessing makes you humble because you know exactly how much grace carried you. You know how many times you were protected when you weren't wise enough to protect yourself. You know how many times you were forgiven while you were still learning. You know how many times God made a way when your own decisions built a wall in front of you. So if you're blessed, don't become arrogant, become responsible. A blessing isn't just something you get to enjoy. It's something you have to steward. Your beauty, your wisdom, your influence, your voice, your patience, your ability to comfort, to create, to endure, to love, without losing yourself. These aren't toys for the ego. They're assignments. There are women watching you who need proof that softness can survive. There are younger girls watching your choices, learning whether self-respect is even possible. There are people around you who'll never say it out loud, but your courage gives them permission to rise too. You never know who's learning from how you carry your pain, how you walk away, how you rebuild, how you pray, how you refuse to become cruel. This is exactly why your private life matters. Your hidden habits matter. Your thoughts matter. Your circle matters. The way you talk to yourself matters. The way you treat people who can't benefit you matters. The way you handle disappointment matters. Anyone can look blessed in public. The real question is whether your spirit stays clean when nobody's watching. Don't chase the appearance of blessing while neglecting the foundation underneath it. Plenty of people want the glow without the discipline. They want the harvest without the pruning. They want the peaceful face without the inner surrender. They want the respect without the boundaries. They want divine protection while still running back through the same destructive doors. Be honest with yourself. Some suffering is an attack. Some suffering is growth. But some suffering simply repeats because you keep returning to exactly what God already rescued you from. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You can't ask for peace while entertaining chaos. You can't ask for healing while still feeding the wound. You can't ask for discernment while ignoring every warning. You can't ask for a blessed life while continuing to choose the people, habits, and environments that keep pulling you away from your higher self. A blessed woman has to learn obedience, not the loud, performative kind done for an audience, but the quiet kind that happens in small private moments. Deleting the message instead of reopening the wound. Sleeping instead of stalking whatever hurt you. Saving money instead of buying things to cover up sadness. Telling the truth instead of bending the story. Resting instead of proving your worth through exhaustion. Leaving the table the moment respect stops being served. God doesn't bless you so you can remain enslaved to your old patterns. He blesses you so you can finally become free. But freedom will offend every part of you that got addicted to survival mode. At first, peace might feel boring because your nervous system got used to chaos. At first, healthy love might feel unfamiliar because you were trained to chase inconsistency. At first, silence might feel lonely because you were used to noise. Don't run back just because healing feels strange. A woman blessed by God has to stop confusing familiar pain with destiny. Just because you know how to survive something doesn't mean you're meant to keep surviving it. Just because you can carry a heavy load doesn't mean God ever asked you to carry everyone else's irresponsibility. Just because you're strong doesn't mean you should tolerate whatever keeps breaking you. There's a certain kind of woman who keeps saving everyone else simply because she's avoiding herself.